world, welcome back to another video. Today I'm bringing you my wrap up for the month of October. I started the month off by finally finishing this book. The official title is Alice in Wonderland, although this ISBN also corresponds to an edition called Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, but in reality it includes a lot of different stories as well. I read the Alice stories for the booktubeathon and I counted that as one book, but I did always sort of have in the back of my mind the plan to finish the rest of the book as well, which I've been doing sort of like in the background. I must admit that I didn't care for it that much. Some of the stories were nice, but overall it didn't really do much of anything for me, so I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, I finished The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky, which I had been meaning to read for a couple of months, and I'm really glad that I finally picked it up because it's really nice. It's probably the most inclusive and tolerant and accepting book that I've ever read, although granted it's easier to write about tolerance and to make a point about acceptance if you're writing this sort of vast universe with all kinds of different alien races who all have to sort of live and work together somehow. I really enjoyed how the person who I thought was the main character at the beginning of the story was more of a vessel through which other characters and other stories were explored. I mean, if you're into like action-packed tough-ass sci-fi, then maybe this isn't for you, but if you like character-driven stories like I do, then definitely pick this up. After I finished The Long Way, A Close and Common Orbit had just come out. It's not really a sequel to The Long Way, but it's sort of, it does pick up the story where The Long Way left off, but it's about a completely different set of characters, and so it's more of a companion novel almost. Similar to The Long Way, this book kind of explores the boundaries of what is normal and what is represented in sci-fi generally. It does so in a slightly different way. The Long Way is mostly concerned with race and gender and sexuality, and although this book kind of goes into that as well, it's mostly about having autonomy and when is someone a person and when is someone sentient or sapient, and can you own other beings, and all kinds of issues like that. They're very interesting issues, and as with the first book, you can read a lot into it about our society and the way we sometimes treat each other and the journey we still have to go towards real acceptance. Next up, I read The Death House by Sarah Pinborough, which was one of my Halloween reads for this year. It's about this institution where children are brought to because they are defective. Very little background information is actually provided, but it's implied that there was some kind of epidemic or catastrophic event that changed something in like the genetic makeup of humanity, and these children are at risk of something mysterious that is never really fully explained, which adds actually to the story, I think. It's not a scary book, not really. It reminded me a lot of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, mostly because it's about this building that houses children that's sort of like a school on an island where there's really not much of anything else there. I like this book a lot. It's really well written, and the interaction between the children and their sort of miniature society that they've built is really good. It's quite understated in some ways, but I really liked it. I then read Speak by Louisa. This book was quite different from what I was expecting. Even though I knew going in that it was sort of built from different people's narrations, I thought there would be more of a storyline, but it was quite disjointed. Not in a bad way necessarily, but just that's how the book worked. It's hard to explain what this book is about. Ultimately, I think it's about people and our need to write everything down or to record ourselves for posterity. It's about memory. It's also about our society progressing, or our science progressing to a point where we can now create intelligent beings, whatever they may be. This book is an exploration of where that could go. Finally, in October, I read The Travelling Bag by Susan Hill. This was also one of my Halloween reads for 2016. It's a collection of 4 short ghost stories. They're not like super short, but they're definitely not full length either. I wasn't that keen on the first 2, especially the very first one. I felt like I kept missing things somehow. When I finished it, I didn't feel like I'd read a completed story. And I know that obviously sometimes authors, don't answer all your questions, and that's something that I actually quite like, but in this instance I felt like it just wasn't finished yet. The other two I like better, especially the last one. In the end, I didn't love this collection, but it was definitely Halloween appropriate. I was also planning to read Ghostly by Audrey Niffenegger in October for Halloween, but I didn't get around to it, so I will be saving this one up for November. So those are all the books that I read in the past month. I hope you liked this video. If you want to talk to me about any of the books that I read, maybe because you read them or maybe because you want to read them, by all means leave a comment down below. I always love talking about books with people, which is why I'm on BookTube. Yeah, like I said, I hope you liked this video and I will see you in the next one. Bye!